This is President Trump's lawyer on Meet the Press Sunday morning with Chuck Todd. I want you to listen to this mind-bending explanation behind his claim that President Trump is not being investigated when the president himself tweeted that he was being investigated. Listen to this.
For the American Center for Law and Justice. Mr. Sekulow, welcome to Meet the Press and happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Chuck.
Let me begin with getting some clarification here. The president tweeted earlier this week, I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the man who told me to fire the FBI director, witch hunt. So let me start with this. When did the president become aware that he was officially under investigation by the special counsel?
The president is not under investigation by the special counsel. The tweet from the president was in response to the 5 anonymous sources that were purportedly leaking information to the Washington Post about a potential investigation of the president. But the president, as James Comey said in his testimony, and as we know as of today, the president has not been and is not under investigation.
Well, I go back to the tweet. Then why did he say he was?
Yes.
I mean, was this he just mistweeted? Are we not to take him at his word?
No, the president's tweet was in response to the Washington Post story. So the Washington Post issued a story that had 5 anonymous sources, which they never identified what agencies those sources originated out of. The response from the president, using social media, was about that story. But let me be very clear here, as it has been since the beginning. The president is not and has not been under investigation for obstruction.
Okay, and why is the president confused? Is he just is this just that he's thinks the media is correct here or not? I'm confused by this.
No,
why is he not taking your legal advice or other legal advice, saying, hey, don't?
He's not the only one who's confused.
Mr. President, you're not under investigation, so why tweet this? This is why there's confusion.
Chuck, I think you're reading more to the tweet than what's there. The president sent out that tweet directly in response to the Washington Post story with the 5 anonymous, unnamed sources from unnamed agencies. So that's why he put that in the tweet. So, look, the president has been, as you know, very effective in utilizing social media. But I want to be very clear here and very direct. The president has not been and is not under investigation. And the tweet was in response to the Washington Post story with no...
Now, how does he know? He's the president's lawyer saying that he's not under investigation. But how does he know?
No named sources whatsoever. In fact, as you know, Chuck, no named agencies whatsoever.
Let me go to something else to that tweet. He said, by the man who told me to fire the FBI director,
Rod Rosenstein.
I assume that is a reference to the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. The president himself said he was...
Which Trump's attorney does not deny.
...was going to fire the FBI director regardless of whatever the Deputy Attorney General or the Attorney General said. So I'm confused there. Who made the recommendation to fire James Comey? Was it the president's decision or was it the recommendation of the Deputy Attorney General?
Well, first of all, the president ultimately makes the decision. That's what he is as president of the United States. There's a collaborative and discussion, very thorough process. In fact, I'm holding in my hand the letter that was sent from the Attorney General of the United States with the memorandum from the Deputy Attorney General of the United States regarding the situation involving former FBI Director Comey. And in that recommendation is a recommendation for removal. Now, as you know, presidents have the ability to think about these situations not in a vacuum. There's a process. When he met...
But he did recommend it, and Trump did it.
...with his Attorney General, when he met with his Deputy Attorney General and reviewed their recommendations of what they thought the appropriate course of action should be, both were convinced, with, as I say, long and very persuasive document, that James Comey should be removed. But here's the irony, and Chuck, I think this is really important. If the leaks were correct about this investigation, again, those are leaks, they're not substantiated, and we have no knowledge of an investigation. But if those leaks were correct, here's what the legal theory of this case would have to be, and this would raise a serious constitutional issue right out of the beginning. You would have had the President of the United States reviewing a letter and recommendations from his department head, and that would be the Attorney General of the United States, as well as others. Sure, he had consultation with other people, and that's the nature of these issues. And he made a determination based on that consultation and based on a deliberative process to terminate the FBI director, as they recommended.
But Mr. Sekulow, that is not what the president said to Lester Holt. The president said to Lester Holt that he had already made the decision to fire James Comey. So
he was see,
I'm confused here. You just said he asked for this consultation, which, by the way,
and look at the guy smirking because he knows he made a mistake. Take a look at his expression on the attorney's face.
Let me also say here, Mr. Rosenstein, in his prepared statement in his testimony to Congress last month, said, "My memorandum is not a statement of reasons to justify a for-cause termination." So I am confused by your rationale here.
Right.
Well, let me just take two things. Number one, the letter to the President of the United States from the Attorney General of the United States is, therefore, I must recommend that you remove Director James Comey and identify an experienced and qualified individual to lead the great men and women of the FBI.
But Trump said he already decided to do that.
That's pretty unqualified. And
sorry, that's where this guy's credibility was just shot to hell. I mean, he knew it. He wound up trying to dig a hole for himself. Excuse me, he wound up digging a hole for himself because he wasn't fully aware of the situation. Chuck Todd's reminding Sekulow or informing him that President Trump said to Lester Holt, hey, I made the decision before Rosenstein recommended the action of firing. And now he's acting like, okay, once that was pointed out to me, he started smirking like this. He goes, like, okay, I've been caught. And the rest of this answer is just ridiculous because he clearly was not prepared for this situation. This is Trump's personal attorney? Wow. Wow. No wonder we're in such bad shape here with the leaders. I mean, look at this. We got competence under President Obama. We went from competence to this.
Attached to that is a memorandum from the former, this case, the Deputy Attorney General's office, where he lays out the reason of his concern and recommendation of removal was because of the handling of the Hillary Clinton matter. But let's take a look at what you just said. Here's what you just said. The president made the decision before. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, there was all kinds of decisions being discussed. Right. But this crystallized that decision. But the fact of the matter is the president, under the Constitution, has the authority to make that decision. Now, he has these two memorandums from his Attorney General and his Deputy Attorney General. So here's the theory of this purported case from the Washington Post. I mean, just think about this for a minute. So the President of the United States takes action to remove the FBI director, and he has a recommendation from his Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General to take that action. He's now, according to the Washington Post, being investigated by the same department who told him to take that action. That's not constitutional. Well, that's not the way the Constitution works. Yes,
well, that has nothing to do with it. The point is that the president, he just admitted that the president's under investigation after saying he's not under investigation. I mean, he just admitted that right there. That's, geez Louise, listen to this.
Is going to be, though, what was the reason behind the firing? So let me ask you this. Was the reason having to do with his handling of the Russia investigation, or was it having to do with his handling of the Clinton email investigation? The reason I ask you this is the memo that was written, the rationale by the Deputy Attorney General, did not discuss Russia. The president, in his interview with my colleague Lester Holt, said it was about Russia. Which is it?
Now, at this point, this attorney is out to lunch. He is trying to parry and debate Chuck Todd rather than knowing the situation so well that he can clearly and quickly answer questions. Not only that, we're not even been in this situation.
Well, the memorandum from the Attorney General, you're right, it's about the Hillary Clinton matter, which was basis enough upon which he could be terminated, and was in fact terminated. So that's what the document says. But you know, you raised an interesting point on the Lester Holt interview. Do you know when the president gave that full interview to
Now, at this point, he's just rushing to clean up.
Lester Holt, he said to Lester Holt from NBC News, your colleague, he said that if, in light of all of this, the removal of James Comey, in fact, he knew it, was going to lengthen the amount of time this investigation would take, but he thought it was in the best interest of the American people. So he was fully aware that if, in fact, he took this action, he would see a lengthening, or could see.
But that's not the point. The point is that the president is under investigation, and Jay Sekulow did nothing to refute that idea, even though he was on Meet the Press ostensibly to do so. What a disastrous presentation by a person who should know better, by an administration who should know better. Wow. Jeez.